Thank you for being here today. So for artifacts from the future, before we dive too deep into all this, let's go ahead and talk about what they are and just give everyone a little bit of an overview. So when we talk about artifacts from the future, it's a methodology that we use in strategic foresight to kind of bring the future to life and really spark conversations around the future. And these can be fictional objects or very specific, concrete details about the future. So, in that way, they can be like products, services, experiences. Policy could be an artifact from the future, for example. And that's why it can take many forms, right? Because you really could have a wide variety of artifacts from the future. And that's where there's a connection with museums, and maybe the museum folks might be a little bit more familiar even just with the word artifacts, right? Because just as you go to like a history museum, for example, and see like vases and can like start imagining people's life in the past, that's kind of the same uh, emotion, the same experience that we're trying to evoke with artifacts from the future. That when you are kind of encountering these artifacts from the future, you get a sense of what the life could be in the future. You can tell yourself the stories. Oh, this is how they eat. This is how they would celebrate uh, a special occasion. Because you have a way to connect to those futures. We're gonna be creating a few kind of prototypes of artifacts from the future. So they don't need to all exist in the same future. So don't be afraid to like have contradictory ones. It's totally fine. We're just playing with them. And something that's curious is that when you start working on one of them, you might let yourself go and then create what we call like an ecosystem of artifacts. And it's like, for example, I remember reading about, all like the extra surveillance and cameras being like in all our public places. And as a result of that, then there will be like camouflage makeup. So you would try to break like the symmetry of your camera so it wouldn't recognize you. And then from that, there would be a software in the surveillance that's trying to detect whether people are wearing the makeup or not. So like because you create this ecosystem of artifacts that kind of relate. So it's an option. It could happen if you go there, have fun with it. They don't need to be all connected like that though. An example of artifacts from the future is our publication Connection to the Future. And in it, we have put together a series of 7 artifacts that relate to liberatory education. And I wanted to bring up Humani because it's a physical object, very like tech driven, and in some ways it's like a people finder. So learners could find other people that have similar interests or are like in looking to find out more about like a specific topic right at around that time. And in that way it also creates like a sense of community in that learning, because you can find others um, that could help you kind of propel your learning forward. um, and then because we are in this description of humanity, we're talking about youth, especially between 15 to 19, that they would come, there would be even like spaces like at museums or maybe a library or a community center in which they could loan those gadgets if they don't have them personally. And then they could have these like saloons in which they get to exchange learning and experiences um, around like specific topics. And the link to our publications in the chat as well. Thank you, Katherine. So if you want to know a little bit more about some other examples, there's some really good one there. some more text, some more experiences, some are policies, some are celebrations. So you can get that range of uh, what different artifacts from the futures can be. Now, let's jump in with a quick warm up. So first, reach into your pocket, grab something on your desk, find something. It might be something that you're wearing, something that's just like, around you. And now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna travel into the future with this thing that we've selected. And this thing, it's no longer going to be an object from 2024. It is going to be something from 2034. Now, what is it? Can you tell us a little bit about what is it? How does it work? Who uses it? And when do they use it? If it's like, every day at a special occasion. So for example, let's see. I picked my teacher. I am 7 months pregnant today. So I'm starting to miss having access to my own clothes and not just maternity clothes. Which for those of you that have been pregnant, no, that's a thing. So I would love if in 2034 we could have fabrics that would be able to accommodate maybe a wider range of sizes within one same piece of clothes. So not that I can just like go and buy maternity clothes, but that my clothes would be able to expand and contract with me maybe throughout, even like across seasons. If I want to like layer it, then it would be able to like get a little bit thicker for the winter or narrow down for the summer. Who knows? Um, I would be wearing it. Probably many women who are pregnant would be wearing it, and they could wear it again from the very beginning of their pregnancy all the way through 9 months, and maybe even beyond. Who knows? Then we wouldn't have maternity clothes. That could be a thing. Uh, Catherine, do you have an example that you wanna share before passing it on to some of our guests today?
Sure. I have a learning access bracelet. And when I go out into different sites around my community that have enrolled in an extended learning landscape program connected to the local school districts, it just logs that I've showed up. So it automatically kind of credits back to my main learning provider, which for many kids would be a school, to say, Catherine went to the museum, Catherine went to the library, Catherine went to the science center. So it starts to create a trail of my community-based learning so that it can help my educators integrate it into my overall learning plan.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, now let's hear from you. What is it that you grabbed around you? You can come off mute, you can share in the chat, whatever feels better for you. Yes, please. Caroline. Hi.
I'm always multitasking, and I just to be happening to be so I have a mobile seed packet. I'm stuffing all these things for teachers. How does it work that now that in 2034 we're more of a mobile society, that um, my seed packet travels with me so that I can create my own garden wherever I move to, because I'm now having to move quite often. So instead of digging up my garden everywhere I go and trying to transplant it, who uses it? People that are in settings where um, their environment changes, or they have to be more nomadic, I guess, in nature,
Hmm.
where they aren't able to kind of set up roots, if you will. That's kind of play on words, I guess. And when do they use it? Um, they use it dependent on the weather and where they end up. It's very seasonal, so they have to really, I guess, be cognizant of kind of growing conditions or creating their own growing conditions if it doesn't allow for it kind of outside.
Yes, especially with some of our climate change disruptions that might be impacting some of our communities, that I could totally see that would be quite helpful.
Actually, I saw recently on Amazon, just as an FYI, and then I'll stop, that there are people that are buying these enormous packets of heirloom seeds and like putting them in like they call them disaster packs. I was just looking up regular flower seeds and I didn't realize that people are purchasing disaster packs right now. I was like, oh my goodness, have I missed something? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, there's even a vault. I don't remember exactly the country where it exists now, but it has like seeds for humanity. So already thinking like, even if we all died, then somebody could go and regrow the earth using this vault, but I don't remember exactly where it is. Okay,
And looks like we have a comment about another artifact,
yes, please.
a temp RH meter.
Yeah, I see it's MPP1 user.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi,
Yeah.
that's me. Hi, can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. I just came from another Zoom meeting. So that's why I'm a tiny bit late. And in that Zoom meeting, I was talking about this, so it was still sitting right here on my table. This is a little temperature and relative humidity meter that you can use to monitor the temperature and the degree of humidity in your house or a particular room. In my case, I do conservation, and so I have this in my textile conservation studio. And how does it work? Well, it's battery operated, and it has a little sensor thing. This little white tip thing here is how it monitors. It senses, the temperature and the RH. And I've had it, it's been running for at least 8 years now, because we moved into this present house 8 years ago, and I just set it on a windowsill and I just forget about it, except in the summertime when I can tell it's really humid outside, I look at this to see if it's above 70% relative humidity and it's above 70 degrees temperature, you have to get worried, because that's when mold and mildew is going to start growing. And so that's why I use it in my workroom, but anybody can use it, if you don't want, I mean, I lived down in Virginia at one point, and down there in the Tidewater area of Virginia, it is so humid in the summertime, you could see mold growing on the side of your wooden furniture, That's how humid it is down there. So that's what this little thing is for. When do people use it? Well, like I say, I use it year round. And so if the relative humidity is really low, that tells me to turn on my humidifier in the room to get the RH back up to maybe 50%. That's the goal. The goal is to help you have a constant temperature and humidity level somewhere. And so in my textile conservation workroom, I need that. So in the wintertime, when it gets really dry, and this thing is telling me that it's about 30% humidity, that's when I need to turn on my humidifier. And then in the summertime, when I look at it and it's telling me it's like 80% relative humidity, I know I need to turn on my dehumidifier to take water out of the air. So, but I'm trying to project. Are we supposed to try to project into the future to see what would happen in 10 years?
Well, so for example, with all the things that this device can do today, what are the other aspects maybe of the environment that you would like to measure in 10 years to keep assessing the quality of the air in a different way? Is it going to be I don't know, levels of oxygen in the air that you would like to have a more precise count on that to adjust in some other way, or other type of like agents, even like, is there any bacteria there that I need to be aware about for like viruses and how they could impact textiles and their conservation, for example. So yes, if you can, think about a few things that you would think that a device in the future would be able to measure for you, for example.
Yeah, like the light levels. Could you add on the light levels? How much, like if the sunshine is streaming in through the windows on the south side, how much light is too much, and I need to pull the shades down, or should I be working, is the light level adequate so that I shouldn't have my overhead lights on because there's enough sun coming in the windows that I don't even need to have additional light on. I'm just also thinking that maybe well, we already know, don't we, that there are entire houses. You can have a whole house where every room in the house right now even is monitored, right? And you can even be somewhere else entirely and tell your house to unlock the door or whatever, right? So I'm thinking this is going to be obsolete because it's going to be absorbed by other more sophisticated technology. This is pretty basic, but I think the technology is going to keep. So this will be a real antique in 10 years, probably nobody will be selling this anymore.
Yes.
Things will get more
Yes,
sophisticated. Yeah.
Yeah. And we see that, like who uses or it's not that they don't exist anymore, but the number of people that have just like a simple calculator versus using the calculator on their phones has shifted dramatically over the years as more people have access to smartphones that already have that functionality kind of incorporated. So thank you for that. And I'm gonna keep us going. So for today, we wanted to think about what future objects or experiences might help you and your museum reach people, impact your community, and deliver on your mission in 10 years. So that's as we are kind of creating these prototypes of artifacts from the future, keep that in mind. And if not, if it's not a museum, just kind of like translate it to your organization, your learning community. So for prototyping artifacts from the future, we have set up a few rounds of ideation that will hopefully spark something interesting for you. So initially we have thought that we were going to have breakout groups, but I think we are going to just stay in the whole group. So both Katherine and I will remain in this room and you'll just stay here with us. Makes it easier for everyone. But we'll do 3 rounds of prototyping. Each round it's going to be about 10 minutes long. And then between each round, we're going to have some time to share about what we created in that round. Each round is slightly different, so pay attention to each of the instructions as we are going through them. And the way that it works is that you can draw, write, or craft your artifact from the future. So we're going to give you some time now to gather some materials. So if you're going to draw, feel free to go and get some markers or crayons. You can also do it digitally if you have the ability to do so. If you're going to write, maybe get some like writing utensil, pen, pencils, paper. You'll probably then will just share out loud once it's time to share. And for crafting, again, kind of whatever you have around that you might think that could be helpful. Play-Doh, scissors, markers, cardboard, tape. If you're very crafty, we encourage that. If not, stick to writing and drawing. That works just fine. Katherine, anything else that you want to add?
No, I don't think so. Just find the materials you feel comfortable playing with. Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you a couple of minutes to go get your materials.
So for our first round of creating artifacts from the future, your invitation is to create a thing, which could be a celebration or holiday, such as prom, the first day of school, or Labor Day. Like, how would that get interpreted? It could be an everyday activity. You might think of another kind of thing. But in 2034, there is a thing related to self-directed, experiential, social, and distributed learning. What is it? So your charge is to create something using your chosen medium, drawing, writing, or crafting, that could exist in 2034. So a celebration or holiday or an everyday activity that relates to self-directed, experiential, social, and distributed learning. Any questions about the task at hand? We're going to have about 10 minutes to make our first artifacts from the future.
Who would like to come on mute and share their story? What is it? How does it work? Did you go with a celebration? Did you go with the item? Who uses it? Yes, please.
Hi.
Hi.
I can't see me. I can see you in the screen. Will we see each other?
I can see you. I think others can also see you. So if you put it to the screen, we might be able to see it too. If it's something
Sort of
that you don't have to change.
One-handed after a fall. So, all right, here we are. I have not given it a name yet.
Ooh.
This is, can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay. This is actually an upside down nest that covers you and you float within it very comfortably throughout the night. And when you wake up in the morning, you are able to rotate it so that you get electromagnetic waves coming in to meld with yours. And you can connect with other countries. You can connect with other people. You can research. And inside there are screens which will show you what you are reaching out to. So it's very diverse and very friendly and very beautiful.
Wow.
So that's our future life.
Yeah, it sounds like it from all those features, it definitely presents its own lifestyle, from
Yeah.
sleeping to waking hours, how we relate to others, right? Which is how we spend most of our days.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Who wants to go next? It's gonna be hard. And there's some technical advice in the chat also. Okay, anyone else who would like to share their prototype for this first round? Again, nobody's gonna call you. We're not keeping tabs and calling you in 10 years.
So I created a app called a celebration app. I called it Cele Stuff. But like CELE stuff.
Okay.
But the app, I did it in a Word doc.
Okay.
People can create any reason to celebrate and ask people to celebrate with them, to celebrate the small things and big things that we share with people globally. So an app where people can post something they want to celebrate, and if others want to celebrate with them, they can. Or if they share something similar that they're celebrating, they can form groups to share together. So kind of almost like a crowdsourcing for celebration.
Yes, that would be lovely. So I am originally from Venezuela. I moved to the US in 2015, and there's many Venezuelans moving to the US, but we come usually by ourselves. We don't have a whole lot of family. So it's often that we find ourselves celebrating things on our own or with the families that we have determined here. And sometimes I wonder, like, could I sign up to be like a volunteer to celebrate with some other Venezuelan just so we could like share, on the experience?
Right.
Like go to a stranger's wedding. Why not? I'll have fun. I'll dance. I'll be happy to just be there for you.
Yeah,
So
and
I
I would
could totally see it like that.
there are so many people that get different certifications and graduations outside of June graduation month,
Right.
that there's so many people that accomplish things, but we just don't celebrate because it doesn't land when we think that's when everyone should celebrate. I think
Yeah.
about that all the time, kids who've accomplished something early, but because it's earlier than June graduation for high
Mhm.
school, that we don't celebrate it at all for them. What if we started celebrating things when they came about as opposed to waiting for the prescribed time?
Absolutely, especially as we're seeing more personalization in our learning pathways. Then what does that mean to have, set dates or set seasons for celebrations? Absolutely. Thank you, Caroline. That was great. Okay, let's move on to the next round. Others will have time to tier after the next round. So again, instructions might seem similar, but they're not. And the idea is that we get to try different ways to think about artifacts from the future so you can kind of identify maybe which one works better for you or which one seems like it would spark more ideas. So for our round 2, this time you need to decide whether you're drawing, writing, or crafting first. And whether you are doing the drawing, the writing, or crafting, then you're gonna select drawing, 5 random doodles that you do on your materials. If you're writing, then select 5 random words. And if you're crafting, select 5 random materials of the ones that you gather. Give you a little bit of time to decide. Select your doodles, your words, or your materials. Okay. And this is honor system, so don't be changing doodles, words, or materials later. We'll trust you. Okay. So hopefully you already have your doodles, your words, or materials selected. And now, step number 2. Using the last digit of your phone number, your driver license, your birth year, some number in your life that's important for you. Use the last digit of that number to identify your item in this list. So we have numbers 1 through 0. So for example, my phone number ends in 1, so I would select assessment as my item for this round. And then lastly, I'm gonna use those 5 doodles, 5 words, or 5 materials to create my artifact by answering. In a 2034 future, there is, in my case, an assessment, since number 1 was my digit, related to communities learning ecosystems. What is it? So the idea here is that you use all 5 of your doodles, all 5 of your words, or all 5 of your materials to kind of constrain yourself a little bit in thinking about your artifact from the future. So try to make them fit. It might be a little bit crazy, a little bit on the fringe, but it might take you somewhere unexpected and interesting. So let yourself go and try to incorporate those doodles, words, or materials into your artifact. And we'll give you 10 more minutes. Katherine, would you like to lead this chair out in the next and final round?
Sounds good. So again, we'll invite you to share what you came up with same kinds of prompts. What did you make? What's your artifact from the future? How does it work? Who uses it and when? So could I invite somebody to come off mute, please, and tell us about your work? I'm really curious what you made that relates to communities' learning ecosystems, especially with the creative prompt, picking a random number and your preset words or doodles or craft materials. Is anyone willing to share? If not, we can move on to our last round. We have one more prompt, just to bring in another way of thinking about inspiring yourself to imagine future possibilities. So this round picks up a little bit of the content from a game called Afro Rhythms from the Future, which is a card deck that helps bring in Indigenous and African perspectives to help imagine future possibilities. And we're going to invite you to pick one of the objects shown on the screen and one of the inspiration cards and we'll imagine possibilities after you've made your choices. So the objects that you can pick from are bracelet, housing, or a map. And then you can pick one item from the inspiration cards shown here. So those are transcendence, bioaugmentation, and the author James Baldwin. So again, you're picking one object card and one inspiration card, which are taken from the Afro Rhythms from the Future game. And then we will give you your next instruction. Okay, so if you have your object and your inspiration card, here's your prompt. In a 2034 future, there is an object, so in the category that you picked, related to the inspiration you picked, that could help museums or your learning organization reach people. What is it? And again, we'll invite you to capture your answer by drawing, writing, or crafting, depending on what materials you chose to work with. So something in your object category and related to your inspiration that helps reach people. Again, you have 10 minutes to create your item.
Looks like a couple of you might be ready to cheer out this time.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You talking to me?
Yes. Yes, what's your name?
No, sorry, Gail. I didn't realize it was my
Gail.
email. My,
It's okay. I
But-
didn't know what to call you, so now you'll be Gail. Nice to meet you, Gail. Please.
I had map and transcendence.
Okay.
And so I wrote, the map has movable hands, objects, colors, pathways, mazes that so intrigue you that you are inspired and free from all present and future worries. The map has transcendent effects on all users. The museum is sold out.
Wow. That's fantastic. Thank you, Gail. Okay. Anyone else wants to share? Last round.
I'll share. I had
Thanks.
Map and James Baldwin. And I said in 2034, there's a map related to James Baldwin to help reach people through impactful essays throughout different time periods that uncover the aspects about society. So if there was, that's the best I could do. It's like trying to.
That's great. Thank you. And I mean, that's the whole point, that it might take us to places that we are not that familiar with and kind of pushing ourselves a little. So we appreciate you going there. Anyone else that would like to share? Okay. And it seems that that concludes our rounds of prototyping. Congratulations, everyone. You've just created 2, 3 prototypes of artifacts from the future. And you know, we were just talking about like reasons to celebrate. This is something to celebrate. You just learned something. And so be proud of what you've created, and keep sharing it with others, and you see what it can turn into. Now we wanted to do a quick check-in using this feelings thermometer. So having just gone through those 3 rounds about artifacts from the future, how are these artifacts making you feel about the future of museums or learning organizations that you work with, and why? So if you can share, you know, kind of where in the scale from 1 to 10 you are, whether they're making you feel a little bit more pessimistic and you're in those like lower numbers, or more optimistic and you're in those upper numbers. We want to hear from you. Feel free to share in the chat or out loud.
So Laura, you feel the same about the future possibilities as you felt coming in to the conversation? Is that what you mean? Yeah, Carolyn, your optimism around maintaining and curating things that make us feel good and happy kind of reflects the intentionality that we can exert as we think about shaping the future.
Yes, similarly, I appreciate the creativity from the artifacts that you've all shared. It makes me feel a little bit more optimistic about the future, knowing that there's, you know, that creativity out there to think proactively about the future. So thank you all for sharing that with us today. And Elisa is also sharing that she's feeling optimistic. Great ideas, but also a little pessimistic because, well, all the things that are happening in the system today. Yes, and it's important to check on this feeling thermometer again, as we are talking about bringing the future to life. A lot of that is going to evoke emotions, conversations, and allowing ourselves, our communities, the people that we work with, to go there. That's what's really gonna create like rich insights about the future. So don't be afraid to ask, you know, if people are feeling pessimistic, then why? What can we do about it? You know, like ask more questions. It's not all or nothing. There's things that can be done. Okay. Thank you for sharing around your feelings thermometer. Catherine, for this last part, would you like to lead us? Maybe since we've already shared out in the whole group, we just jump to the next slide.
That sounds
Okay.
good. Yeah,
This one or the next one?
I think it's the next one. Yeah, this one
Okay.
is, we had been in the breakouts. Yeah, thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
So just curious to take a few moments to reflect beyond the feelings thermometer on your experience of developing artifacts from the future. You're welcome to share more than a word or phrase if that's coming, either verbally or in the chat again. Just curious what it was like for you to work with this approach to thinking about the future. Or whether you have reflections on any of the specific artifacts that you made. Yeah, creativity and imagination. Yeah, the space and prompts to think freely and creatively. We don't often get to step out of our day-to-day and like really say, what if? You know, I think it's something that we often have to be intentional about. We very much appreciate your spending time with us this afternoon. And just being willing to play with the possibilities that's represented by this technique for thinking about the future. And we hope it sparks something for you that you can take back to your day to day, even if it's in a small way. Or just felt good to do for the 90 minutes or so that we were together. So thank you all for joining us. Feel free to get in touch with either of us directly. Here are email addresses, and we'll look forward to staying in touch.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye all.
Thank you.